Ah, no. But that's not where I want to go. Where I want to go is down at the other end.
And I have no idea why my camera on my computer is not working again.
You just have the wide angle.
Yeah, that's all right. It's better than nothing.
Yeah.
But I've reinstalled the driver. It says it's bending and extending, lengthening, getting everything to function through to the fingers. Activating the fingers and the hand, everything in there is working. Your arm. Focus on that element and not worry too much about the others until that one is really comfortable and really functioning. And we are reluctant to. So when you go from doesn't really matter. When you go from kun earth to water, to kan water, you are coming in towards the body and then out into that into that position, but not into the center and then out. You understand what I'm saying? This one again, you're working with you're working with everything, but you're working with
Yeah.
questions in there.
No, that was really a lot of helpful stuff, though.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
I like to be helpful. When you went into shoulder, you can see the hand.
Yeah.
I think it's crossed the center line of the body. Is it coming just to the center line?
Okay.
Ah, it's back. Okay. Okay. So.
Yeah.
I bet, Bill got stuck in that mess down the bridge.
Oh, really?
I just think so, 'cause
Is there a mess down at the bridge?
remember what we were in yesterday?
Well, that wasn't too bad. Walk straight back. Sort of. Oh, what? Already? Oh, I already started recording. I started the recording too early.
Morning.
Ta-da!
How
Morning,
are you?
Morning, Jeff.
How you doing?
Good.
Right.
How are you doing?
Oh, good.
I,
Gearing up
I,
for the day.
I, I didn't get whatever you said because you,
Oh,
you went, "Buh."
I said I'm good. Just gearing up for the day, getting things organized and underway.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, I'm just um, waiting for Bill here. He may have gotten slowed down a bit at the bridge.
Uh,
Some year they will finish that project.
I don't believe that. It's always been a. I mean, this goes back to when I was living in Connecticut. Still, that was always a problem in that area, in
Well,
one form or another. Not necessarily this project, but
yeah.
there was always things going on that made it very difficult to pass through there.
Well, this project has been going on for over 2 years,
Wow.
and they're still not done. And they
Hmm.
got, and then across the bridge, they're doing two traffic circles. One is done, and they're in the midst of the other one. So there are constant
Well,
slowdowns.
uh, the traffic circles, I mean, at least all this construction and all that's with a good purpose because
Yeah,
I believe in traffic circles are really very helpful.
they are.
Yeah.
I like traffic circles too,
Yeah.
and they're doing a lot of work on the bridge. So it and supposedly updating and working on its functionality as a swing bridge too. So
Right.
hopefully the total result of all of this will be positive.
Yeah. Yeah.
um, it's
Uh,
it can be annoying though.
yep.
It's often
Because
only one way, and so you have to wait. Well,
yeah. Yeah. How's everything been going with your renter? Renting out your studio. Is that going smoothly?
it's going well. We've had this woman who's online social worker over a year now, and she is she's great. We don't hear
That's
much
good.
from her. She pays her rent on time. She's a nice person.
Right.
Uh,
Yeah.
she has a beautiful dog.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so
Hmm.
that's been good.
And how is the building itself holding up after all these years?
Very well. Very well.
Yeah,
Yep. Um,
that's good to hear.
haven't really had any building problems. Our last the tenant before her. Um, well, he broke the sink in the kitchen, which we had to replace. Didn't know he'd
Yeah.
done that, uh, and a couple other
Mm.
things, but nothing, nothing major. We did have to replace the heating um, and get better heating unit in there,
Right,
um,
right.
which was kind of expensive. And we did a bunch of work outside too. Um,
Mm.
the guy before he just parked wherever he wanted to. It wasn't in the parking lot. He was on the grass. Had a boat
Uh,
there for a long time.
huh,
It just, so we actually covered that whole front lawn with gravel
right.
and put up a little fence to separate the parking area out.
Right.
And it
Okay.
looks really nice. It's really, it was a good thing to do. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
well, I don't know where Bill is. I haven't had a. Well, let me double check my phone again here.
Okay.
But I don't think. Okay, nope. I haven't had anything from him this morning, so um,
Okay.
we'll go ahead and start.
Okay.
So, do you arrive with any questions or reports?
Um, no, nothing that we haven't discussed in the last class or two that I'm just trying to continue to work on, as
Uh,
much as I can.
okay.
So we've been talking about a lot of things that you know,
Yeah.
and I don't have a lot of practice time, and I try and do as much as I can in terms of what you say as far as separating things.
Uh huh.
But also sometimes I just try and it's enough for me to just try and get like a flow of one or the other in
Yeah.
and focus on two things. So it's all obviously in a constant state of development still,
Yep.
and questions do arise a lot of times related to stuff we talk about in class and the direction you bring us in class. But I mean, I'm not having any problems. I'll put it that way. So that's a good thing.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
how's your breathing?
Um, I mean, I still am working on that here and there, in terms of the continuation, after a lifelong of realizing that I hesitate after an exhale. That's, it's taking some conscious work during my flows and all to try
Yeah.
and work on that. But
Yeah.
that was one of those things that I was referring to as far as an interesting new concept that I hadn't really thought about until the last couple of classes.
Yeah.
Um,
Do
that
you?
is that is something.
Um, how do you feel you do with breathing into your sides?
Um, Still in the first part of that, down lower.
Uh huh.
Um, you know, I would say I'm making some progress, but not enough where I can start thinking about the rest of it yet.
Okay.
But it's some sensation. I'll put it that way. It's. I know I can and will feel more, but that's it's not something I focus on every time that I flow because I do some other things. So it's probably
Yeah.
coming along a little more slowly. Maybe I should put a little more emphasis on that.
Well, the nice thing about breathing is you can do it anytime.
Yeah, well, that's true. Actually, yeah, I should do it more when I'm just sitting. You're right.
Yeah. Well, yeah. If you have, it's the kind of thing. If you have 2 minutes here and 2 minutes there, and you just
Right.
focus on it, you'd be surprised the result.
Yeah. No, I've got lots of little 2 minute times when I'm working. I mean, I could certainly that's something I can do just even relaxing and just I'm focusing for a couple of minutes and just thinking about that. And I
Yeah.
hadn't been doing that, so that's actually a good idea.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mm,
Um,
okay.
so, well, why don't you go through the 8 gates?
Okay.
We, we don't have Bill, so I'll watch that.
Okay. Actually, let me.
Yes. Bye. Um, Good. So, a couple of things I might.
Yeah, I will say real briefly, it may be one of the things you have, but I realized I have a lot of hesitations where my breathing wasn't quite matching up with my movement, so my movement hesitated a lot, and I did pick that up more so than usual on that flow
Yeah.
for some reason.
One of the things we had talked about was the bending of your fingers and
Hmm.
hands,
Yep, yep.
and it what it looked like was that there was little or none in the first four postures, but it started to happen in the second four.
Mm. Yeah, that's maybe the number one thing that I'm working on now is doing that consistently all the time.
Yeah,
That's always been a problem for me.
I know.
Um,
I understand.
yeah,
The other big one, I think, too, is finding the center of each transition. You have the center
yeah.
in a few of them, but a lot of them particularly seem to happen when you were coming up, except when you were going to lung up here. Um, but for instance, when you had been doing con water
Yep.
and you went to up to the heart, you were twisting and bending in, but you went all the way up, and then all of a sudden you're coming out. And so there's a midpoint in here, and so all your twisting in happens up to the midpoint, and then the rest of the way is going out.
Uh,
So finding those midpoints,
right.
because
Were there any other specific ones that you remember that I was particularly off on?
well, going from Jean de Kun to a certain extent, um, to Khan was good. This one I just talked about. Um, from here down, that was better. Actually, that wasn't too bad. And this one was good. I felt like you really found the middle of that one.
Right.
But then this one seemed to me um, to be more at the bottom than finding the middle.
Right. Okay.
And this one was good, except it was too high. Um,
Uh, I've been doing that at middle dantian, right, bottom of sternum.
yeah.
I was higher than that this time?
Well, it looked like it, although uh,
Possible. I may have been. It's
yeah.
possible.
Well, it's possible I wasn't clearly seeing either
Yeah.
on
Or
Zoom.
some combination of all of that.
Yeah, right, right.
As long as I know where I need to be, that's thanks for reaffirming that,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
I can focus on that. But those are actually very good points because I haven't been thinking in terms of the middle point that much. That's something I'll work on a bit more this week in the
yeah,
transition because sometimes the transitions I don't know what I'm doing wrong, but they don't feel correct. They
yeah,
feel they feel off quite a bit in some way, and I haven't really known why. So
yeah.
that's probably why.
Um, I like the pace you were doing it. That was,
I
um,
think that's what David. I think that's when the thing I just said before. Was very focused on trying to keep a consistent breath, and I found out that that was not coordinating well with some of the speed of some of my postures, and that's why my postures ended up, some of them ended up waiting for a
Yeah.
while to for my breath to finish. So I definitely got to work on the speed that I'm actually doing the physical posture and work that back to the breath because I was trying to keep the breath itself as consistent as possible. And that's when
Yeah.
I noticed a lot of the speed of some of the postures I need to adjust them so that there's
Yes.
no stall hesitation. Because I noticed that more than I think I ever have in that one flow right there. Um, that there was a lot of hesitation in my movement. So,
Ah. So finding that coordination,
mm,
yeah, that can be. And the thing is that you want to be able to do it at different speeds.
mm,
So you might have coordination um, really well one day when it's going pretty quickly, but you also want to have it that coordination without
right,
hesitation when you're going very slowly.
right. And I did find that I had more consistency in the length and all of my breath in that one, more so than usual,
Yeah.
because I think I was focusing on the breathing into the sides and thinking about that more than
Yep.
I usually do. And that did help to keep it consistent.
Yeah. I think
So
that
I
was.
will,
Yeah. Keep that up.
yeah, I think that was a good realization
Yep.
today that will help me to keep that consistent more often.
So, any other questions about that? Excuse me.
Um, I give me your comment on how much physical movement you think I'm having versus how much I should. I realize I'm doing more physical movement than I probably want to do eventually, but I do feel like it helps me to coordinate everything and also to uh, do the bending and stretching and twisting and actually kind of feel it more still at this point.
Yeah. You um, in the beginning, it's going to be bigger. Absolutely. And
Okay.
the the and it's good that it is because for the very reason you just said that if it's a little bit larger, it's easier to be aware
Mm,
of all those parts that you're trying to coordinate.
right.
Um, but you're also absolutely right that um, eventually, uh, eventually there has doesn't have to be really much movement at all, if any, except in the transitions.
Right. Right.
So you eventually want, um, even when you get to here, that all those things are happening, but there's no big movement.
Right.
I mean, I'm
Right.
doing all those parts that we've talked about,
Yeah.
and I'm not moving very much.
Right.
I have a very slight movement there, but it's all happening.
Mm.
So,
Yeah. I think for a little while I was focusing more on minimizing my movements than other aspects, and that may have not been the best time to do it. Not that
no,
I'm
that
letting myself do big movements, but I just was a little too focused on that, and I think it kind of slowed down my advancement with other parts of it.
yep. I it, you know the slowing down. I started to say eventually sort of happens automatically, which and it's that's that's pretty true. You
Right.
have to have some intention to do that too, of course, but
Mhm.
it's not that you force it to slow down. It just wants to. And it's different
Yeah.
from day to day. It's like everything else. There's some days when it just feels like more movement is correct, and there are other days when it seems like, whoa, I don't need to have a lot of
Mm.
movement. I've got everything going, and the chi is really moving.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
it, it it's going to be different, and so part of practice in a way is learning to be responsive to that,
Right.
be aware and responsive to it,
Yeah.
and allow yourself to be whatever it is that day. It's just like some days are easier and better than others. They're not all the same.
Yeah. We're just chaotic balls of energy, and some days we're more settled than others.
That's right.
So,
So, any particular questions in the form?
uh, no, but I've been trying to be more aware, and maybe you can look for this when I flow, but I've been trying to be more aware of not crossing the center line.
Yeah,
Um, because that's not something I had really thought about. I was always thinking about that in the eight gates, but I have not been applying that to the form. And I think it was last week that we talked about that a little, last week or the week before that we talked about it
yeah,
a little bit. I, that I've been trying to do, but I've only flowed a few times since then. So I'm sure I'm still missing the mark on a lot of the postures. So
yeah.
maybe that's kind of keep an eye out for and give me some feedback on that.
The other thing too that I'd like you to do a flow in which basically you try to pay attention to your breath and be aware if you're keeping it going, if you're developing pauses.
Right.
Um, so
Okay.
you're, I think you're doing the form easily enough now that you don't have to think about really what comes next.
Right. Well, I mean, and you're not, so this is not trying to coordinate the breath with the movements. It's just keeping the breath flowing and even
You
like I
can't
was doing in the,
you can't possibly coordinate your breath with the
okay.
movement.
Just wanted to make sure I was clear on
I mean,
that.
I say that, but obviously one could, but it would be really weird
Mm,
because you'd have some long breaths and you'd have some extremely short breaths.
mm,
And that just doesn't make sense.
right.
And as you know, as we've talked about sort of briefly, and you have experience with it, breathing without breathing is what you actually should be doing.
I was just waiting to say that exactly that sometimes, not very often, but sometimes I actually do a flow where I coordinate my breathing without breathing because I do like to I've never let go of that. Even in the years I wasn't doing Tai Chi, I've kept that practicing the abdominal movement.
Uh
And,
huh.
you know, and so I do have good abdominal control and awareness and all that. So I actually do still do that sometimes with this flow. Is that occasionally I do the breathing without breathing, and I like that. It's always helped me quite a bit. But I don't do it. I don't. I'd say maybe one out of four times I might do it. One out of five flows, something like that. It's
Hmm.
not often.
What do you mean when you mentioned abdominal movement?
Drawing in the dantian through the lower, I think it's the lower abdomen. Drawing in as I draw in and then out as
Okay.
the movement goes out.
So back when I was first talking about that, I
Hmm.
didn't know, I had not gotten clarity about that from Master Joe. I mean, he was not always clear.
Right,
As Jay put it, his Chinglish sometimes was a little difficult to deal with.
right.
And since then, I have learned a great deal more because
Ah,
what you're talking about is reverse breathing.
okay.
So, in other words, breathing without breathing, but reverse breathing, because a basic breathing or longevity breathing is thinking of the abdomen expanding when you inhale, and reverse
Right.
breathing is reverse breathing. There are two primary stages of development in that. And in the first one, the movement you're feeling is the abdomen and the diaphragm coming in and down together,
Right.
but you're not doing it by clenching the muscles. You're doing it more by intention. So it is like the thing I thought about the other day when thinking about this is that it's like twisting. The difference between turning and twisting.
Hmm.
Um,
Okay.
do you
Yeah,
understand?
mine is a still a it's an intent, but it is definitely dependent upon me using my diaphragm and my muscles to draw in.
So
So that would be
you
analogous to the turning, right?
you are aware then of your diaphragm moving.
I believe so. I think that's I think that's what it is. It's
Okay.
yeah, I mean it's the muscles and it's below and inside of the muscles as well
Yeah.
that I'm aware of.
The thing is that when you are doing this,
Hmm.
you want to be able to feel the energy go from the dantian to the spine and up the spine to the middle dantian. Actually, eventually to the heart and mind, but at this point, the middle dantian is fine.
Right.
And then on the exhale, it reverses that pattern.
Okay. That's not something I do. And nor was it something that I was actually even aware of. Because I
No,
still kind
I
of going
this
based
is
on what you were saying earlier on when you were much less learned on this.
yep. So um,
Hmm.
so reverse breathing is much more than simply contracting the abdomen and the dantian and releasing it.
Right.
There is a specific energetic movement that goes with it,
Hmm.
and it's an extremely important stage because ultimately it is how you connect, probably for the first time, with Sheen, with heart and mind, which is really ultimately a major control point in the body. And it's a point that functions beyond thinking. So it's an energy center, not saying point is not correct. It's an energy center, and it's not
Uh,
necessary. necessarily located exactly at the middle dantian. It is located somewhere in that area, but it is related to both. It's related to both the heart and the mind, as the translation of the word indicates.
Right.
So it deals with both. Um, it deals with all thought. It is the place where thought arises from.
Um, is that through the heart mind connection to the universal energy?
Yes, yes,
Huh, that's fascinating.
because it is related to emptiness, which is not nihilism or total absence. It's actually total fullness, but empty. Now we're getting into these are really things that also are part of why in advance Tai Chi training, meditation becomes such an important piece. Because in order to fully connect internally to these things we're talking about at the moment, really meditation is required.
Hmm.
And,
When you're
well, go ahead.
that emptiness slash fullness that you're talking about, is that similar to what we are trying to be in Wuji before we start Taiji?
Um, Significantly beyond that.
Okay.
Um, Certainly related. Um, and and if you can truly connect to Wuji, then that I think that could certainly lead you into emptiness. Yes.
Hmm. And all of this, our connection with this is through the heart mind area.
Ultimately, yes. Ultimately, you can function. You function from the heart mind.
Huh.
Without thinking.
Right. Oh, that's tough for us humans to do.
Yep, it is very, very.
Hmm.
So, what actually, my original thought
Right. Right.
was that I really would suggest at the moment that you not try to do reverse breathing because I don't think you're quite at a point where you can do that effectively.
Right.
Because we're breathing without breathing is not necessarily talking about reverse breathing. You do breathing without breathing with any style of breathing.
Can you give me, can you refresh me again? I know you kind of started saying a little bit about the difference between the two, but what is the specific difference between reverse breathing and breathing without breathing?
Um, actually, that's not not the difference. The difference is between longevity breathing and regular breathing um, and breathing without breathing. So regular breathing, longevity breathing is no, that's not what I mean to say. I'm not saying, disregard that. Let's start over. Um,
Okay.
so you can the two different kinds are regular breathing and reverse breathing. That's exactly right. Well, regular, which I'm now calling longevity because of um, more recent training. Um,
Right.
the difference between those two is that really that with reverse breathing you are able to you focus much more on being able to move the energy at the same time that you are breathing. Whereas basic longevity breathing also has that focus, but it's not as effective. And I guess I would say it is a little more general.
Why is it not as effective?
Just because it's not. Reverse breathing focuses what you're doing much more intently and intensively.
Okay.
Um, and you can do breathing without breathing, which is talking about breathing without breathing is really talking about whether you are relating the breath to the movement or not. So you can either do longevity breathing relating it directly to the movements in something where that's appropriate, like the 8 gates, or you could do the 8 gates with breathing without breathing and still be doing longevity breathing, just not focusing on coordinating the movements with the breath, which allows you then to slow the movements or speed them up without having to be dependent on coordinating with the breath. And the same is true with reverse breathing. So you can do reverse breathing and coordinate it with the movements, or you cannot. You can do breathing without breathing and do reverse breathing.
So what I've been doing, what I described to you, and what I've been doing all these years is basically reverse breathing. Um, when I utilize the dantian in and out with the movements.
Yeah, not. But the thing is that reverse breathing is not just focused on the breathing. It has very specific energetic movements that have to occur with it.
That occur as a result of it, or as an intention of utilizing reverse breathing.
It's an intention, yes.
I'm asking because when I do reverse breathing in a flow, what I experience in my sensitivities is a pulsing or a pumping of energy in and out through the arms, through my spine a bit, but much more so through my arms and hands and fingers. I can feel the pulsing more and the movement more when I do reverse breathing in a flow, especially if I'm doing it slowly.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that's always been my experience and why I've liked doing reverse breathing, years ago and to a lesser degree now, um, because I do experience that energy movement just in those areas, not in all the other areas you've discussed, but in those areas in particular, because I always feel it much more in my hands and everything. So that's where I've been utilizing it.
Mm-hmm. So, in effect, what you've been doing is really reversing um, regular breathing. You haven't really been doing reverse breathing, and which is not your fault. I mean, it's just um, at the time that I originally um, was sharing what little I knew at that point,
Right, right,
um, and and I think you are probably correct. I think simply getting abdominal movement to go in and out, uh, abdominal and diaphragm together,
right,
could very well intensify the awareness of the breath that you have,
right.
or the energy.
Hmm. Yeah,
Um, all I'm saying is that's not all there is to it.
yeah. Apparently, there's much more than I realized.
Well, there's
No,
more than I realized back when I first was talking about it. So,
right.
um, and that's a common misunderstanding. That doesn't
Hmm.
excuse it, but it's a common misunderstanding that. Um, I mean, when I was first doing it, I was really using my muscles to pull everything in, push everything out,
Yeah,
um, and that gets in the way. It's what it's what happens when we get dependent on muscular movement anywhere in any part of what we do.
right.
Um,
Well, I mean, it's a step in learning. Sometimes
yeah,
you learn from the mistakes and you learn from doing it the wrong way what the right way should feel like and will feel like.
mm,
So that, I mean, that's pretty much everything in Tai Chi and, you know,
yep, yeah, you're right.
oh, okay.
So, um, what I was starting out to say before is
Right,
I wanted you to do a flow with um, doing longevity breathing, not reverse breathing.
right. Yep,
And clearly, it's going to be breathing without breathing because there's no way you can coordinate with effectively with all the movements without being.
right.
You end up being totally focused on trying to make the breath fit. And how do you do everything else if that's where your mind is?
Right, right. So my goal always in flowing is to keep my, well, what was my long breath, but now is the longevity breath constant,
Yeah,
even.
and that's what I
That's
that's what I want you to focus on and see if there are
right.
places where that isn't happening.
Yeah. Okay. Um, Just while we're on the subject again, can you give me a 30-second review on longevity breathing, the progression from the lower part, which I'm on, up through the heart area and everything?
Well, after on the sides, you work up the sides. You get the lower part moving the middle, and the upper, which is into the
Into
armpit.
the ribs.
And then lower back, which really means lower back. So it's in the area of the sacrum and down in the lower part below the ribs.
I'm trying to do that now initially or after I've gotten the whole sides involved.
After you've got the sides.
Oh, okay. All right.
And after you have that, you do the mid back and into the kidneys, which is critical. It's really important.
Okay. All
And
right.
the last part is not the last part, the next to the last part is into the upper back, aware of massaging the heart. Yeah.
Okay. I'm glad I asked actually because I was envisioning it just all uniformly going up the body, side, back, everything at the same time, rather than sides and then back. Yeah, that's much more clear.
Yeah, and it's helpful as always to work on it that way because if you just try to do everything at once, you will not do that. You will leave something out.
Yeah, and maybe that's why I haven't gotten the feelings in the sides so much yet because I've been trying to include just the whole circumference as I go up.
No.
So that's probably that's it's definitely decreased my focus on the sides then. So
Yeah,
I'll check.
it's again that principle of separate and then combine.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. All right.
Good. Good discussion.
Yeah, great discussion. I'm going to make note of this breathing discussion in particular. I have little notes here on my computer of certain spots in certain classes that I need to go back on periodically for
Uh
specific things, and so this will be one of them.
huh. Oh, good. Good. It was a nice flow. I liked the pace.
It felt easier to stay consistent, focusing on the longevity breathing just in the sides like that. I felt the difference.
Yeah.
So,
Did you feel that you could keep the breath going?
uh, mostly yes. I still, especially as I got later in the form, I did find myself hesitating again, like I tend to do a second or so after the exhale, just finishing the exhale and then nothing for a second or
Yeah.
so, and then starting the inhale again. That's going to take a lot more practice for me to overcome that. I did overcome that the beginning part of the form, but then as I got more into it and started thinking about other aspects of what I was doing with the form, with the maybe trying to bring too many other things in, but I did
Yeah.
lose the focus on just the breath a little bit. But I definitely felt the difference in the movement up the sides, and also in keeping the pace, as you said. Um, it felt good. Felt
Good.
good.
Yeah. The one movement I need to mention is still is wave hands
Mhm.
because you're still getting stuck on the left side.
Yeah, and I keep finding myself also 2 or 3 times during wave hands, kind of letting go of everything and forgetting and trying to and focusing again on trying to remember to turn the ball, which I lose
Yeah.
throughout that. I lose
Yes.
and when I get that realization that I've lost it, I stop and I probably get stuck for a second or two, like you're saying, and that's probably why most of the time, because I'm always trying to remember to keep the ball going, and I always stop a few times.
Yeah. And the other thing is that to remember that the center position of the arms is different depending on which side you're going towards.
Mhm.
Because
Yeah. Well, I know
because
going towards the left, it's not as much underneath yet, right?
it's not underneath at all. It's like this.
Right, like this, and moving in that direction. I do try and do that. I probably don't do it well yet.
You weren't doing it at all.
Okay.
So when you come back going to the right, yes, because the movement is so small, then you can be in the center at equal height because it's no problem. But when you come back going to the left, turning that right foot in, you need to end up with the right hand higher than the left so that you can keep that rotation going as you step, and then you've got room to rotate the ball out and rotate it back in again. Do,
Yeah,
do you
you're
see
right.
that?
I was way ahead. You're saying I should be like this. I've been like this.
Yeah,
This is how you're saying I should be, and I've been like this already at
yeah,
that point.
yeah. You want the
Okay.
right hand higher than the left when you are, so that the making of the step is what really turns them almost even, and then you've got room to get out and back in again.
So
Yeah,
right there, I should be. Okay. Yeah, yeah, you're right. I was not doing that at all. I was always under like this already.
yeah.
I get it. Okay.
Um, a lot of really good parts of what you're doing, Jeff. That's coming very nicely. So
Well, but I think doing that, the longevity breathing is gonna, it's a nice step forward for me to integrate into this and will definitely be helpful. So
Yep.
I will work on that for sure. Um, okay.
And really developing the whole longevity breathing is a it's a huge step,
Yeah.
certainly in terms of your health, but just in terms of the breathing, um, it expands your breathing
Right.
considerably.
Do you do that? Do you yourself do that pretty much naturally now as your regular breath in all of your life?
I hope so. I'm, I I'm would say I probably don't do it 100% of the time, but
Mhm.
most of the time, yes.
Are you still trying? Do you still have to be conscious of it, or is it your unconscious breath now? Has it transformed into a longevity type
Yeah,
breath?
I don't have to think about it, no.
Okay, that's nice. That's
But
good.
it took a long time to do that.
Yeah, I can imagine.
It's I'm not suggesting that, you know, you're going to do that in
Right.
3 or 4 months or 6 months. It's a matter of years, really.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's especially as you mentioned the health benefits of it, which I'm certainly interested in. I'm going to try and make that a moving forward, make it a regular focus,
Yeah.
whether I'm practicing or try and remember to do it even when I'm not practicing,
Hmm.
um, to hopefully get to a point eventually where it can be my regular breath, because I need to be around for a long time. So,
Absolutely.
I
Um,
would like the health benefits to be part of this.
um, the thing is that while we certainly have specific organs that we focus on in doing the longevity breathing, it it functions to massage all your organs,
Mm,
and that's one of the major reasons for doing it because it does move energy in and out. It cleanses the organs
right,
and
right.
strengthens them.
How about your back, David? Do you find any benefits from the longevity breathing for any part of your back?
Um, well, I think it's yeah, probably is a little better for my back, but the things that help my back are more energetic and physical. Um, the primary thing that helps my back, I would say, is the um, Taoist spine stretch
Right.
is probably the single most beneficial thing that I do for my back.
Do you do that daily?
Usually, yeah. And I
Right.
have a whole routine. Actually, because of my spinal stenosis, I do ice and heat every morning and evening.
Right.
And I do a whole routine of both stretching and strengthening exercises, a number of which are focused on my back.
Right. Okay.
And then, well, yeah, the spine stretches has always been a really important piece. It's what I think kept me pain free for like 10 years and still
Yeah.
helps me be not as painful.
Right.
I, I, I deal with some pain in that area every day now, but
What
it's,
what area specifically are you talking about?
oh, my lower spine. I have,
Okay.
I have what was diagnosed like 15 years ago as severe degenerative arthritis in my lower spine, which they call spinal stenosis now.
Right. Right. Right.
And I did have, a couple of years ago, I did have 3 shots in my spine, which really helped because it was at that particular point I was experiencing severe pain.
Were these were shots one at a time,
Yep.
3 different times?
Yeah,
Okay.
2 months apart.
All right. Um, what are they called? I'm trying to remember what they were called because they were recommended as a potential treatment for me when I need it. Because I've had lower and also thoracic problems for several years now, and I've been doing a lot of good things to slow the progression. Mine's not as severe as yours, certainly at this point, but when I started doing physical therapy almost 5 years ago, which I did just for a brief time now. I've been doing it on my own, but I couldn't even move without getting horrific pain all the way down to my leg.
Yep.
Um, you know,
Yep.
from
Been there.
the nerves and all that. So you understand. And I've been like you. I've been doing everything possible to avoid. Well, so far I've even avoided the shots, although that's been suggested as the next step if and when I need it. But certainly to hopefully avoid surgery for as long as possible, if not forever,
Oh
because
yeah,
that
I
you
do
know
not recommend spine surgery.
no, that scares the heck out of me.
I mean,
And
I do know one case of very successful
yeah,
spine surgery, but most that I've heard about are not were not successful.
that's what started me going to the gym regularly almost 5 years ago, is in conjunction with starting physical therapy. And so I've continued the gym religiously, and I do work quite a bit on my back muscles, on my abdominal muscles, the whole core muscles. I work on everything, but I certainly focus on that because if I don't, I know that I'm going to be in trouble. So
Yeah.
that's a necessity. And I work on everything else just because it makes sense to. Um,
If I don't do my exercises every day, I suffer.
mm, yeah,
And if I do them, then it's for the most part controllable. I mean, it goes up and down. I have
right,
really good days, and I have other days that aren't great. But but
right,
I don't have what I had 15 years ago, or like two 2 or 3 years ago when this really got bad again. I don't
right.
have that at all.
Do you continue with the shots regularly still, or not? You haven't
Oh
for
no,
several
I
years.
haven't had shots for 2 years
Oh, great. Okay,
because I don't
nice.
think they're great for you.
Yeah, no, I agree, and that's why I've continued to avoid them. Most of the time, I'm good, but every now and then I wake up in the morning and I'm like, oh man, and I don't know if it's the way I've slept or whatever, but every now and then it brings me back to a period of when I was not controlling it well.
Yeah.
So just trying to see into the future as far as what I'm going to continue to need to do. And so far, I've been okay. I've been controlling it well enough where my quality of life is fine as long as I do certain things.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, my I have to say, my chiropractor recommended some of the exercise I do, and they have been really helpful.
Right.
So
Are they more geared towards strengthening or stretching, those exercises?
I do both.
Okay,
Some some strengthening, some stretching.
that's good. That's good. Yeah, from my physical therapy, I've still actually got a packet of a lot of those exercises I used to do, but I've found that my strengthening regimen at the gym has worked really well, and I have to sleep in certain positions and sit in certain positions and keep my
Uh-huh. Yeah.
you know just always be mindful of it. If I'm not, I get a little bit of a sharp pain reminder. So
Yeah.
fortunately, I've gotten to a point where it's almost unconscious now that I'm doing the things I need to do
Yeah.
after 5 years of this. So
It I I found that strengthening abdominal muscles and lower back were the one things that really helped me the most, probably in that
yeah,
kind of thing.
yeah, absolutely. I focus on those and make sure even on weeks at the gym when I don't have a lot of time, those are the first things I make sure I get done because those are required.
Mm.
And kind of funny, Jesse's doing jujitsu. He's been doing jujitsu now for almost a year.
Uh-huh.
So they're learning some punching techniques and things like that. So I let him use my stomach as a punching bag, and it's that helps me to continue to gauge that my muscles are nice and strong because he can hit me as hard as he can, and he enjoys it. He has fun doing it, and it kind of I get a kick out of it too.
Yeah,
It's kind of funny.
of course.
Someday I won't be able to let him do that because he'll probably be able to knock me over. But
Right.
for now it's kind of cute. Yeah,
Well, enjoy it now.
I do, David. Every day possible, I enjoy it.
Good.
Yep.
Well, have a good week.
Yes, great. Thank you. You
Thank you,
too.
Jeff.
We'll see you next week, and hopefully everything's okay with Bill.
I'll
Send him my regards.
I'll
You
I'll
see?
check him out.
Okay. Take care, David. See
You
you
too.
soon.
Bye.